Good afternoon to you for those that are in New Zealand, and of course, good morning to those of you that are joining us in Australia. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Improving Customer Satisfaction, Better Shipping, Happier Customers. We're joined by Daniel from TIG today, who's going to be talking us through this theme, and really looking forward to hearing Daniel's perspective on just how we can actually address this theme of improving logistics, improving our shipping processes, and of course the impact that has on customer satisfaction. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Daniel. Daniel, welcome to the session.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's a very beautiful sunny Melbourne today in Melbourne. So I hope wherever you are, it's also very enjoyable. So we will kick off and jump straight into it. Yeah, let's get talking about today's webinar. So I just wanted to introduce TIG first and talk a little bit about, I guess, what we do, just to frame the conversation a little bit. So TIG is an end-to-end freight solutions provider. So what that means is we take care of deliveries and freight solutions from the very, very beginning of an order when it's placed, all the way through, into the, I guess, through a sales order stage, into the warehouse, and then at the very end, once it actually gets delivered. And we've got technologies and solutions that can integrate and add value throughout that journey. TIG itself has been in business for over 20 years. We've got 4 branches across Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, and Brisbane, looking to expand into Perth, and we're also dipping our toes into New Zealand as well. We've got a team over 90 across the nation. We've got over 370 clients. We manage a freight portfolio of around $160 million. And then our technology is powered by our key platform, which is called Open Freight. So as we jump on a demo a little bit later, I will be talking through and showing you a preview of what that looks like. Really, really proud as well as a business to be 100% Australian owned, have been for the last 20 years and continue to be. We're a MYOB Acumatica premium developer, and we've been in this ecosystem for over 5 years. And a quick fun fact, TIG actually use MYOB Acumatica as well internally. So high level, the 3 values that TIG deliver is TIG improve delivery performance and visibility to customers. We do more with less. So, and that's through integration and automation. And the other thing that we really focus on is reducing freight costs. And we do that through an optimized freight network and intelligent business rules. And combine them together, we hope to deliver an improved customer experience, which is what this webinar is all about. We know firsthand from the clients that we work with how important this is. We talk about this all the time, but I really wanted to quantify this. So in preparation for this webinar and in this particular slide, we went searching for statistics. Let's just say there is no shortage of statistics saying that if you improve your client satisfaction, if you improve the experience they actually receive, then your business will effectively do better. And bottom line improves, profits improve. Overall, it's a win-win-win-win. Some of the key 2 stats that took away that I thought stood out that would be worthwhile highlighting. The first one being 81% of customers say that a positive customer service experience increases the chance of them making another purchase. Now, when we talk delivery, and we talk delivery experience in particular, as that's generally going to be the final component of that customer's experience, from checkout through, research, checkout into delivery. If you nail that right, I think this really drives home the fact of how important that is. Another little number that we found quite interesting was brands with superior customer experiences bring in 5.7 times more revenue than competitors that lag in experience. And again, I think that just drives home how important providing a superior, I guess, experience for your customers, right in that entire journey, from the beginning of them looking at your business into purchasing your products and right through to delivery. And look, I'm sure Stephen would attest to exactly the same. Let's talk about how we can actually improve the experience your customers are getting. So I think the first and foremost thing that we really need to look at is setting realistic delivery expectations and realistic expectations of what they're going to receive. Now, in a delivery, space, this is something that we quite often, speak to customers and prospects about all the time is around what are your delivery expectations to your customers. And the reason it's so important to get right is because when we implement our freight models and when we actually get to delivering what we're actually say we're going to do, we need to understand what those expectations are, not only for our customer, but also how they're set internally, and also very importantly, how that actually impacts your warehouse operations. So first and foremost, let's look at the baseline. Where are they set? Who set them? When were they last set? Is delivery expectations something that's set by your operations teams, your warehouse teams? Is delivery expectations set by something that your sales team say to your customers? We need to get alignment. We need to understand what's currently being talked about within your organization, but also what's being talked about externally within your organization. We need to look at things such as, can your customers pick and choose what type of service that they're going to receive? Consider things such as what's the turnaround in the warehouse in your pick, pack, dispatch. Are you promising 24-hour delivery? And how does that then, 24-hour dispatch, and then how does that actually impact your default and your delivery experience to your customer? Do you do things like notifying customers when the freight is on the way? Are you informing them or are you not informing them? And what does that look like? So once we understand our current expectations, we can then start to break that down and review in detail and in depth some of the things that we can look at and improve. Examples that we're starting to see in the market that we work in, can we break your customers into tiers? Can you have A, B, and C tiers, for example, where your A grade customers may get a different delivery experience than your C grade customers, which is perfectly fine to do. Can you look at things such as implementing premium freight, but not having that available to everyone, or having that as available as a surcharge? And if you do, and this is where it comes into the implementation phase, is how are you actually going to implement that and make that work? Do you have a B2B portal? Do you have a B2C portal? Can you use those portals to empower your customers to choose their delivery service that they want to actually receive? Obviously, what they choose needs to be backed up internally within your organization. What other technologies can you use that can help you deliver exactly what you want? So once we've set our expectations within our organization and understand what our customers want and what the market expects, the next step is to start to optimize your freight models. And the first and foremost thing that we want to do before we even start looking at aligning anything and looking at freight partners is we need to review our freight recovery. In a wholesale distribution business, freight costs are top three, sometimes number two, but generally speaking, they're in that top three one way or another. So freight recovery is going to make a huge impact to your bottom line. We work with customers that have got great freight recovery, where a large majority of their freight is recovered, and we work with customers as well that have got terrible freight recovery, which effectively they are just freight's an expense and they just live with it. If we can review the way that we recover freight, and we can look at using technology to empower that, then I think that's a really key start. Something that we'll touch on in the demo later is around how in Acumatica we store both the freight charge to your customer and the freight cost to your business, and then how you can differentiate that and make changes to that, and then allow you to report on that. Once we understand our freight recovery and we've looked at things and how we can possibly improve that, then it's around aligning those expectations along with what we just discussed previously around our customer details. So we need, do we need an express service for certain customers, etc. Once we understand what our freight recovery is going to be, and we've aligned our expectations with our customers' expectations with our freight model, the next step is around reviewing your freight partners. And I think this is something that every business should do every 12 to 24 months. Regardless, you need to sort of review what you're doing and making sure that it's continually aligned. Now, when reviewing freight partners, a question you should ask yourself, is it time that we should looking at engaging a freight manager such TIG? And what can that actually benefit your business? Regardless of how you do that, the final step is implementation and implementing those changes. I think it's really important here to highlight how important change management and communication is key. And that's change management within your organization and communication within your own organization, right across from your customer service teams so they know what's being changed. Your operations teams as well and your sales teams, and then communicating that with their customers. The worst thing that we can see and where we've seen things go wrong is when we change a blue truck to a green truck or an orange truck or something different. And that's all being well communicated within certain parts of the business, but not the entire business. But even worse is when the customers don't know about that, so that the deliveries they're used to getting at 9 a.m. and now they come at 10, or they're used to a 12 o'clock driver and they know the driver comes in and drops off their freight for ABC company, but now he's getting there a little bit earlier. So it's really important, I think, just to make sure that communication is very clear. Stephen, again, just quickly, I'm sure implementing ERPs, this is one of those things, change management.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just adding to that, Daniel, it's actually quite easy to get the technology right, but it's so much about the people and the processes that need to support that. I think you've highlighted a few of those elements. There's also nothing worse than implementing a technology change and seeing that the customer becomes actually more dissatisfied rather than more satisfied because of the execution. Not the change, but the execution of that change. So yeah, absolutely. Let's keep in mind the importance of that change as we go through these changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, on the back of that as well, we say internally, you can have the best technology in the world, but if you don't implement it right and actually make use of it, what's the point of having it? So once we've set our expectations and we've reviewed our freight models, it's now around bringing that all together and looking at streamlining your actual shipping process. So let's combine this all together and see what it looks like. So when it comes to streamlining your shipping processes, the first and foremost thing you want to do, and I guess one of the outcomes that you definitely want to achieve, is reduce as much manual processes and as much paperwork as possible. We want to apply that throughout the entire supply chain as much as possible, particularly in the warehouses. That's where we see the most gains. We then want to look at technologies that can actually achieve your outcomes. Consider a freight management system, and when you have scale, look at something like a warehouse management system to further reduce your paper requirements and further increase the the automation. Most importantly here, ensure these technologies are integrated. There's nothing worse than having a separate freight management system and warehouse management system and an ERP and nothing's talking to each other. We want to make sure that it's well and truly integrated, and it's integrated well. And not only is it integrated well, but it's supported as well, so that you're working with a partner that's working with other partners that are all in to achieve the same goal, which is effectively to achieve your goals. And finally, let's just review areas that are outside warehouse operations. And I think that's important around just looking at the technologies that we can implement or working with partners as well around reducing some of those other conflict areas within the organization around freight and shipping. So that might be around exception reporting and delivery performance reporting that your customer service teams can see. We frequently see warehouse teams are the ones that have to inform customer service where freight is, inform, where deliveries are and where our PODs are. Sales teams are calling customers. Let's just streamline that process as much as we can through technologies, and let's empower everyone and give them transparent details so they can understand where freight is and answer inquiries they need without having to run around. So before I jump into the live demo, just want to talk quickly just around the integration that we've got with both Acumatica and Exo. So the My Acumatica integration is obviously the most current and up to date. It's a real-time data sync. So everything is real-time integrated between Acumatica or Still a mouthful, isn't it, Stephen? Still getting used to it's not my advance, it's my Acumatica. Real time with my
You're doing well.
Acumatica.
You're doing well.
Thanks, mate. With MyObXO, which we still support, that's through a polled API. So that's downloading data out of your sales orders through your tables, every sort of 5, 10, 15 minutes. Within the Acumatica, MyObXo platform as well, which I'll show you shortly, we can quote in real time from sales orders. So from a sales order, if you want to be able to understand how much freight's going to cost, we can provide those costs up front before it actually gets to the warehouse. Consignment information is written back across both platforms, and that includes shipping numbers, tracking details, and most importantly, costs. And they can be both your charge cost to your business and charge out to your customers. Within the Acumatica integration, we've got customizable, extremely customizable logic. We can still do it in EXO, but it's a little bit more limited. Both are compatible with various different WMS products that are out there in the marketplace. I believe we had a webinar with EXO last month, and that's a platform that we plug into very, very nicely. So yeah, completely streamline that process even further than what I'm going to show you today. All right, so this is my lovely Acumatica, or MyObXo demo environment. So what we're going to show you through today is how that integrates into Open Freight and what that process looks like from a sales order perspective. So I'm just going to go and create a sales order. And this is where we always hope that live demos work, because you can test them 100 times. All right, perfect. So I've just created a demo customer with some delivery details. I've got my nice little bleeding edge 32-inch LED high definition Samsung TV. I'm just going to move this over here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a quote. So we've added through a customization a little button here that says Open Freight Quote. So right now, if I go into shipping, that's blank. If I go to the totals, there's no details there. So we'll do an Open Freight Quote. And what this is going to do is it's going to grab all the information that's attached to that particular product, which in this case was my little Samsung TV. We've got, against that SKU, some product dimensions, and we've got some standardized weights. And it's going to talk to our API. It's going to say, hey, I want to ship this out. How much is it going to cost me? We will then return all the available options that are available to you. Now, if you're using your own freight accounts, these are the accounts that you'll see. Using your accounts through TIG, these are the accounts that you'll see. I'm going to pick the first one because the transit time is much to muchness, and the freight cost is the lowest. So I'm going to pick this one here. If I go into shipping, we'll see that service code is now being updated to what I've picked. Now, again, this is optional. We can have this set up so that this is just a field that comes in. So what you pick in here doesn't flow through. But for demo purposes, and again, I mean, what most of our customers say, look, if I picked out this particular carrier, that's what I want to go through in the warehouse. Now, when I go over into totals as well, you'll see those freight costs have been written back. And there's two values here I wanted to highlight. The first one here is the freight cost. Now, this is the charge to your business. And the second one here, which will apply to markup through the settings in this customization, is the charge that will go out to your customers. So going back to what I was talking about earlier about freight recovery, these are the two fields that we can use to ensure that we're recovering as much freight as possible, or at the very least report on, so we can review what it looks like. So I'm just going to save this sales order. And then I'm just going to create the shipment. So once I've created that shipment, I'm going to click into Open Freight. I'm just going to refresh this one I did a little bit earlier. And there's the one I just did now, sales order set 39. So this is where they will land. We call them imported consignments. These are effectively pending shipments that need to be dispatched. So jump into here. You'll see over here, we've got all the information where it's coming from, where it's going to, which is all that information coming from from Acumatica. We've got the sales order number as well. This can be customized. Delivery instructions, if we had special instructions saved against the delivery instructions in MyOb, we would have them here as well. Likewise, cost centers, etc. Service codes across up here, and as I scroll down here, we've just got the actual what we're actually shipping. So just confirmation, so in the warehouse we know what we're actually dispatching. So I'm going to pick what I'm doing. I'm going to do a carton. I'm going to send it out at 21 kilos. It's going to be 35, not that big, 35, 42, and 15 centimeters, 17 centimeters. I'm going to update that. Print my labels off. So at this point, your labels are going to get reprinted out. There you go, off to a thermal printer somewhere. And we'll see that that shipment's actually moved across from imported into manifestable. This is now a live shipment. You've got labels, you've labeled the freight. At the end of the day, truck rocks up. Great, no problems. We're going to manifest this and we're going to release it. Again, you get a little manifest, pop-up blocked. Looks like that. Standardized carrier manifest. And then if I go back into the shipment, this is where we just may need to wait a moment for it to actually refresh in our backend to process it. We'll come back in here and then we'll update some details. So just while we wait for that, wait for that to update, just jump back into Open Freight. We'll show you a couple of other quick functions. So inside of here, as I mentioned, we were bringing in all the information out of MyOb. You'll note down here for this particular example, we've had to go in and confirm cartonization and what's actually being shipped out. We can actually do that straight off the actual shipment itself. So we can actually capture the weights, the lengths, the widths, and the heights, and we can push this through automatically and print everything out automatically. However, we found that flexibility in warehouses, this has been where most customers will actually perform their shipments once they've picked and packed it in Acumatica. And the reason for that is in warehouse teams, when they were living inside of Open Freight, not only can they create shipments and manifest freight, there's also the ability to get additional real-time quotes. And most importantly, under this track and trace field, other than track and trace, when they're integrated into TIG services, we can create inquiries and chat to our customer service team. So without having to create emails or phone calls, we can live within Open Freight to create those inquiries and follow up freight. So we see now that shipment's now been confirmed. If I go into shipping, you'll see again, just that service code we've confirmed is what's been updated. The final freight cost has been saved down the bottom. And then if I go into packages, we've just confirmed, we've just written back exactly what's been declared in Open Freight. So we shipped out one carton at 21 kilos, tracking number, all that information's in there. So as you can see, it's a very well, tightly integrated platform, and everything flows through really, really nicely. So rounding out the webinar, and hopefully everyone enjoyed that demo. Just talk quickly on our platform that I just showed you, highlighting just that it's built here locally in Melbourne. It's a 100% owned and managed platform by TIG. So we control the destiny and the feature set around what's delivered. It is a highly scalable enterprise-grade platform as well. So very similar to MyOb, we live in the AWS cloud. Data is hosted here locally in Australia, and it's in that managed and secured environment. From a numbers point of view, we're processing millions upon millions shipments every single year. And we're doing 10 to 20 million API calls request every single month. So huge amount of data processing through our platform. Our network, I think it's important to highlight that we work with over 200 carrier partners, and that's everyone from, I guess, your tier one Star Trek Australia Post network through to your FedEx and TGE, which used to be known as Toll, through all your, I guess, different various specialists as well that, deliver, palletized freight especially, or cartonized freight, or, do special freight deliveries into e-commerce. We've got Freightways now, NZ Couriers down the bottom as well. It doesn't really matter what your customers, so what you're, I guess, shipping, whether it's, through, wholesale distribution type business, you've got retail storefronts or e-commerce, we've got a network and we plug into enough carriers that, in short, we've got you covered. As I mentioned in the beginning, we work with over 370 client partners. They're across 20 different industry verticals. It's very rare that we'll see a business that we haven't had some kind of exposure to their industry before. We've got some great testimonials as well from customers and sites that case studies and site visits you're welcome to do. Again, just working with local businesses as well as big global organizations. Rounding out just the three service offerings that TIG offer. So our first is our managed freight solution. So in that particular setup, the way that works is you hold the account with TIG Freight, and TIG Freight holds the account with the carriers. We're a single one-stop shop for all things freight is the easiest way to summarize it. There's no cost to set that up, and there's no cost to integrate. We bear that as part of the onboarding process. The second option is what we'll call a platform only or a SaaS type model. And in that instance, I pay for the platform depending on how many shipments that you move per year. And there's just a cost associated with that ongoing SaaS platform. The third option, which we're seeing again depends on your requirements, but we do offer a hybrid solution as well, where you may have some of your own existing customer or own existing carriers alongside some of the freight carriers that we may manage as well. Break that down a little bit further. So what are the differences between working with a business such as TIG versus working with carriers directly? So at TIG, you'll receive a single consolidated freight invoice. So your account teams only need to worry about one, compared with a carrier direct, where you will have multiple freight invoices from multiple carriers, potentially on multiple days, and most definitely multiple payment terms. From an account management point of view, as I mentioned, TIG becomes that single point of contact for your team, whether it be freight inquiries, account management, your support, etc. While working with carriers, if you've got 4 or 5, again, that's just multiplied out by how many you're working with. One thing that we're really, focused on, which is really, really important, I think, is around continually reviewing, your freight models, and therefore your pricing structures and network mix. And the reason we do that is there are annual freight increases. So if you work with a traditional freight carrier, you'll know we're in August now. So come September, October, November, potentially already, last month in July, those increases start to come in and get applied. So one thing we do as part of that continual review is around trying to offset that freight increase as much as possible, so that your business has got as stable as possible freight costs. And then finally, obviously working with the carrier directly, you've either got to work with the software they've got, or a non-native solution. As I highlighted earlier, we've got an extensive 200 carrier network available, and most importantly, we're certified by Maya back in Medica. So what do our clients say? We had Karen Lab on last year, did a fantastic job, and really, again, just shout out and appreciate for them for helping us out. So in the last one we did, in summary, it just works. There's you pick apart many sort of case studies and many customers. I think you'll find the overwhelming majority of them will probably summarize it very, very, very much similarly. One of the slogans that we throw around here is, we take the pain out of freight. We try and make things as simple as possible. You worry about your business, you focus on the growth of your business in every way possible, and we'll just manage your freight for you. We'll just make sure your deliveries get there, around that, aligning those expectations with what you needed with your customers, and happy days. So what do we offer? What do we, special offer, on the back of this webinar, is we're offering everyone that's jumped on today a free health check before the end of September. The reason for that deadline, as I mentioned earlier, is just around that upgrade season. So, the quicker we can implement this, we can secure rates for a longer period of time. And what a freight health check actually entails, effectively, it's just a discussion with your operations teams and your organization to understand everything we talked about today, particularly around your customers' expectations, that freight model. We don't need hundreds and hundreds of hours put into this for that freight health check. We just need to understand your business and what you're doing, and we'll provide you with some options. And if those options are, implement this and change that, so be it. And if your options are, you've got the best solution for your business, and there it is. So yeah, I implore you to reach out on the back of this, and let's undertake that.
Fantastic, Daniel. Some great content there, and it certainly just highlights the importance of improving those processes around freight and logistics. I think a lot of those that are on today's session will reflect on the importance of that reduction of the cost per pick. At the end of the day, in inventory distribution, it really is about that cost per pick, about those costs that we have in the processes. I'm constantly surprised by the number of organisations where we have, sales orders with client success teams that are being managed with multiple steps through the process, freight being managed manually, people within the warehouse running back and forth from the office to try and update sales orders and finish the freight process or finish the invoicing process. When you think that through technology, we can actually make this a single step process. The sales order gets entered either automatically through technology or manually through a customer success person, and the rest just happens in terms of process. So lots of opportunities there to really improve the process and reduce that cost per pick. So we do have a number of questions here. If you do have any further questions, please don't hesitate to use that Q&A button. But let's maybe kick off a few of those. We've got a great first question here. Do you have any case studies or reference sites? And this one just came in just before you, Karen Lab overview. I don't know if you want to jump back to that, Daniel, but can you talk through just some of the other success stories that you had around transformation of the sort of logistics and freight areas of a client business?
Yeah, definitely. So, look, high level, we've got some case studies that show, efficiency increases of like double. So we've literally got customers that have implemented this type of integration, and the amount of orders they've actually be able to get out the door, they've physically be able to double the amount of volume that they're actually able to get out the door. At the same time, the number of people they actually need to pick and pack or dispatch, instead of having, let's say, 10 people picking and packing and dispatching, where that might be split 50-50, they can have 4 people potentially dispatching and then have everyone else there sort of pick and pack. So just increase the efficiency in the amount of volume goes out the door. The more orders you get out the door, the more money in the bank in the day. Other things that we see in relation, again, I guess sort of that, on the back of that integration, we see, I think data integrity is a really important one. We've got some customers where, they've gone from keying everything in manually to having that, master data coming out of Acumatica or Exo, where it's verified. So we know the deliveries are actually getting there on in the correct location. We had a customer of ours that actually had an error rate of around 7 to 8% of addresses, just to the nature of their particular customer base. And they reduced that to 0.5% after implementing this. So, what that means is less redeliveries, better customer experience, obviously, because they're getting there on time and they're actually getting to the correct customer. And look, we've got a number of reference sites that have got this live and running that, obviously, reach out to your account manager on the back of this, and we can talk you through them.
That's great, Dean. I think that certainly highlights the point. There's nothing like a reference site to have a conversation with. So if you're looking at moving forward in terms of the conversation with TIG, take advantage of that health check. That's a really great service that TIG offer. The fact that they're doing it at no charge, just to give you some insights in terms of those processes and those opportunities for reduction of freight costs. But then also leverage the fact that you can speak to a reference, speak to somebody who's actually using the software, getting the advantages of it, and that can give you their story in terms of the benefits that they've gotten. That kind of ties into a similar question that we have here. What results are customers getting? What's the ROI? I know you kind of talked about the impact in terms of scale, the impact in terms of volumes, the impact in terms of accuracy. Do you have anything else that you want to share around results and ROI?
Yep. So, again, really, really good question in terms of ROI and I guess the results that customers are getting. So obviously already touched on some of the what we're seeing, but look, from a pure ROI point of view, if you're implementing open freight, and we're looking purely just from a SaaS perspective, or an implementation point of view, we're seeing a multitude, like we're not talking 10, 20%, we're talking hundreds or thousands of percent increase of efficiencies from a return. Like this is one of those no-brainers. You know, if you look at the time and motion studies to actually produce a shipment and do that manually, you know, we see customers, particularly as you mentioned earlier before, Stephen, about running around with pieces of paper. If you're a paper-based warehouse and you take, you know, the time that it actually takes from, you know, whoever keys that in, warehouse to process it, and then put that information back in, 3 to 5 minutes. Like, I implore everyone to just get a timer and actually time these things. But, you know, 3 to 5 minutes, and we're getting a shipment process down to 30 seconds. Like, yeah, multiply that by an FTP. It's, yeah, return on investment is huge.
Now, a few practical questions in terms of careers here. What carriers do you work with in New Zealand?
Yep. So New Zealand, we are 100% live with New Zealand Couriers, which is part of the Freightways group. So there's a handful of others that fall on the back of that. We're actively working with NZ Post and a number of other bulk carriers in New Zealand. So yeah, New Zealand is sort of a fresh expanding market for us. But look, yeah, if you've got particular carriers that you need requirements with, or you want to connect into in New Zealand, yeah, please, yeah, reach out to your account manager and let's chat. It's a growth area of ours.
Absolutely. Do you support international shipping?
So we support international outbound shipping in a less than container load type. So what I mean by that is if you're moving documents, or if you're moving, you know, small cartons and stuff, absolutely. So that's 100% supported in open freight. You know, out of Australia, out of New Zealand, you know, into AU and into NZ, no problems. What we don't support is, I guess, containers. So that international inbound container component is not something that for us. But yeah, if it's small carton freight, documents, etc., where you're doing exports, moving around the world, all good.
Right. Now, do you have connections with frozen freight carriers within Australia?
Yeah, we've got a handful of chilled and frozen carriers that we can plug into. What we find though in that particular market is it can be quite niche and quite unique, and because of that as well, the technologies that some of them are working with aren't as, I guess, put it this way, they don't meet the minimum requirements. So, you know, we can produce labels, we can get some pricing, but, you know, and stuff around, you know, ensuring the pricing is accurate, ensuring that, you know, the transit times that we've got are accurate, and, you know, be able to get PODs and stuff. Some of those businesses don't, but yeah, some of the larger ones, absolutely, we can plug into.
And also just add to that, if you've got challenges with the current chilled or frozen carriers that you are working with, there's probably an opportunity to have that conversation with TIG about their experience and perhaps some of those providers that can address some of those technological gaps and bring those efficiencies that you're looking for. Moving on to another question here. Does TIG work with a break bulk freight scenario?
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, very particular. A very particular way of wording it. There's different ways of talking about break bulk. So it's a industry terminology that we use. It can also be references cross stock and a number of other things. But just for the audience to understand what a break bulk type scenario is, generally speaking, the way that works is you have a line haul carrier that's doing majority of your freight between your states. And then you've got a final mile carrier that's doing the actual delivery within your, I guess, you know, within those individual states. Now, that works really, really well when you've got the volumes to support that, and I guess the delivery type of products to support that. But look, to answer the question, yes, that's absolutely something that we work with and offer. So,
just adding to that, there are some real opportunities within your EXO integration or your advanced or Acumatica integration. Forgive me. To get some advantages around how you manage that sort of break bulk cross-stocking process. You know, we often see people with some challenges around how they manage that, particularly when you look at TIG integrated with a warehouse management system. There's no reason you can't have that stock received on the dock and then actually a process by which that's automatically assigned or allocated to sales orders that the stock needs to go out on. And rather than putting that stock away, we put it straight through, ready to be consigned and dispatched. So some good opportunities there if you're doing great bulk. Now, we're a retailer. Can TIG support drop shipping from a supplier direct to the customer for both accurate charge to customer and not losing out on our charge from the supplier?
So probably a question with
drop shipping here.
Yeah, drop shipping high level, all good. So there's no issues. We've got a number of customers that drop ship for some very large marketplaces. And again, that's integrated and it works really well. Charges are obviously a key part of that as well. So, there's measures in place. But yeah, I guess to answer that in particular, we just probably need to find out a little bit more about that particular question. But look, high level, yeah, definitely got a number of customers drop shipping.
This is an extra client and they're looking for a way to automatically set up shipments, essentially by just being told what boxes we use to pick, calculating freight and sizes automatically based on weight and dimensions stored in Excel against the stock items. Essentially, they want a single click on a purchase order, have a consignment booked, and the label printed. Now, there's a lot of detail there. I'll let you talk that through, and I might have a few points to add as well.
Yeah. End of the day, I guess the way that we work is as long as we can grab that data, we can process it. So key shipping data that we would need in regards to I guess weights and dimensions, we'd actually need to have that either stored as a particular package type. So in Acumatica, but there is packaged products which we can have dimensions on. I assume we can do the same in XO, but it's going to be a decision between package sizes that we have and then also obviously the package details on SKUs. To answer the actual question, is it possible and can we do it and have we done it? We have. We can get down to that single click, but the absolutely critical thing is we need to make sure that all that master data is there and it's also accurate. Because to get single click, we're going to need to make sure your delivery details are spot on, that we've got postcodes and states and all that information has been validated so that APIs, etc., are going to process them. And then we also need to understand where we're printing it. So is it a warehouse? Is it multiple warehouses? Are multiple locations? Where's it being printed through? So there's a number of questions that I've got, obviously, to be able to answer that in detail. But high level, yeah, look, if the data's there, we can get to a single click.
So it's not just technology, but the people and the processes and the data. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. People, processes, and master data.
So maybe just adding to that, we have quite a number of clients where within their ecosystem, they either use additional fields. We actually have some extra fields outputs available, and you can actually store the weight and dimensions of your individual SKUs as master data against your stock item. Of course, if you're palletizing or reboxing product, that doesn't necessarily work. But there is a different approach that we can take in that environment. So if you are actually doing packing as a part of your warehousing process, either pallet loads or packages, if you use a warehouse management system, typically during that picking process, they'll allow for a packing process where you can actually say, I'm going to put these 4 items in this box, or put these 4 boxes on this pallet. You capture the dimensions of that package, that box, those boxes or those pallets, and that will get sent straight through to Open Freight, and Open Freight can then do the consignment. So absolutely, you can do it a number of ways, either through master data stored against the stock items, or if you are packaging within the warehouse, actually using a warehouse management system to capture that data, process the picking of those goods, and of course, then you could actually flow onto the automatic invoicing or the shipment from there. All right, one more question here. We send a lot of goods overseas from Australia, India, etc., New Zealand, sometimes small packages, but sometimes pallets of goods. This be done through TIG freight? And I think the answer is yes.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. As I said, as long as it's all that is there, as long as it's not container loads and containers coming into the country, yeah, whether it be a pallet, whether it be cartons and small packages, absolutely, that's all supported.
Fantastic. Well, that's it in terms of questions, Daniel. A really great session. I hope there's some food for thought for our attendees today. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out using those contact details. Speak to your account manager or your client success manager at Kilimanjaro. And of course, don't hesitate to use that free health check offer that Daniel's provided up until the end of September. Reach out now. I think you'd be surprised the benefits that you can get from that, and certainly the efficiencies you can get through improving your processes. Thanks again, Daniel. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.